Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you my top 5 cards coming out of Toon Chaos. Now, while the Toon half of this set may leave a lot to be desired from a competitive standpoint, that doesn't mean there aren't cards in the set that will see competitive play. And so that's why I'm bringing you guys this video today. This is coming out a few days prior to Toon Chaos's release. And if you're looking to play some of these new cards and see their full potential, be sure to check out Pro Play Tour Origins taking place this weekend, which Joseph Rothschild and I will be commentating live. It's going to be an incredible event. We get to see if any of these new cards will shift the metagame away from the Adamancipator Eldritch threat, and we really hope to see you guys there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So kicking things off with number 5, I've got Chaos Valkria. So for those of you who don't know, Chaos Valkria is a light level 4 monster with 1800 attack and I believe 1050 defense, and the effect reads as follows. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. You can banish one light or one dark monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is banished, you can send one light or dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. But for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as that card. You can only use each effect of Chaos Valkria once per turn. I mean, what's really not to like about this card? I mean, first of all, the typing is great. The stats are pretty decent. It's light. And one thing that's pretty unique about this is that it's kind of like the Aqua Spirit of like lights and darks. And the fact that you get to choose one or the other gives this card a lot of added flexibility, especially for Chaos decks. Keep in mind with Chaos Valkyria that whatever you banish for her effect will still trigger if it has that type of ability. So for instance, if you banish like a Thunder Dragon that has one of those effects when it gets banished, you can forcibly trigger that by using Chaos Valkyria to summon it. So that's really neat that you're not relying on other cards to do this for you, so it has synergies just beyond what's written on the card text. Keep in mind, a lot of these Chaos decks are looking to just combo off and make these pretty absurd boards, but at the very least, Chaos Valkyria represents a level 4 that you can just summon out onto the board, either use as link material, get it into your graveyard for potential chaos fodder, or you can use it as like rank 4 Xyz material. How many decks would love to have the ability to just jam out a free level 4 onto the field if they are in the light or dark attribute? I think a lot of them would, and Chaos Valkyria fits that description perfectly. One thing to not underestimate is the other effect of Chaos Valkyria, which allows you to send a light or dark to the graveyard. And yeah, sure, you may not get to use the effects of whatever you send during that turn, but you could send something like Gizmek. You know, Gizmek is still one of the most terrifying cards in the dark attribute, and the fact that you don't have to use it during your turn necessarily, Gizmek doesn't care. This is obviously just one example of many, but I just wanted to show you guys that that seemingly drawback of Chaos Valkyria actually doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because at the very least, it's just going to give you more fodder for your chaos plays, and at best, it's just going to give you a free extender to continue comboing off and doing all the shenanigans that Chaos loves best. So for all those reasons, that's why I put Chaos Valkyria as my number 5 slot. But coming in at number 4, we have a card that we should have gotten in a structure deck, but I guess we're getting it, so we shouldn't be too upset about it. But that card is Subliminal Knight. Now, this card is an absolute beast for anyone looking to play warrior decks, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you why by reading off its effect. It's a Fire Warrior level 3 effect monster with 1300 attack and 200 defense. If it's normal or special summon, you can equip one Fire Warrior or one Gemini monster from your hand or deck to this card as an equipped spell that gives this card 500 attack. If this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card while equipped with a Gemini monster or monsters, you can special summon as many of those Gemini monsters from your graveyard as possible as effect monsters that gain their effects. You can only use each effect of Subliminal Knight once per turn. So the second part of this effect is neat, but we're really focusing here on the first effect, that ability to equip something directly from the hand or deck to Subliminal Knight, and what better than Squeak Knight. Now this is a card that some of you may have never heard of before, but basically it is a card that is able to special summon itself out to the field if it is equipped to something because it is a union monster. Now it does have an ability where if you can summon it, it can be made a tuner for the turn, but then you're only able to summon from the extra deck once, and we're not trying to do that. We're not trying to make this a tuner for Crystron Halki-Fibrax plays. We're trying to just get 2 warriors on the field so we can summon Isolde. And once we get to Isolde, especially for the Infernoble Knight deck, which we will be getting more support for once Rise of the Duelist comes out a few months from now, that is where this deck is going to take off. Sublimation Knight is basically just more ways to get to Isolde in a single card combo, and that is why this card is so explosive. We already know the power of Isolde from Goki format and plenty of other formats in the past, and this is no exception. Just adding more consistency and more ways to access it is all you could ever ask for, and so for that reason, that's why I'm giving Sublimation Knight my number 4 slot. Now coming in at number 3, we have a card that is a huge nostalgic throwback to anyone who used to play during the Rise of Destiny days, and that is the Chaos Creator. So the Chaos Creator is a Dark Thunder effect monster level 8 with 2300 attack, 3000 defense, and an effect that reads as follows. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. If you control this card that was special summoned from the hand, you can target 3 banished monsters with different names. Special summon 1 of them, then place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only use this effect of the Chaos Creator once per turn. So yeah, huge throwback to the Creator, but much easier to get out because you just have to have Chaos summoning requirements to do it, being any light and any dark monster, and in any native Chaos-based deck, this is going to be so easy for you to pull off. This card, while being a little bit conditional because you do have to summon it from the hand for this effect to work, and you do need a little bit of setup, not only just for the graveyard, but also in the banish if you want to get the full value off of its effect. There are so many cool things that this card can do. It's level 8, which sets you up for some rank 8 Xyz plays, being able to act as an extender, not only in its own right, but also getting you another monster back from your banished pile is huge. There's also some synergies with the fact that it's a Thunder card, so that way you can like search it with cards like Thunder Dragon Fusion natively if you're playing like a Thunder Dragon deck, which the Thunder Dragon deck is all light and darks already, so there's kind of like a natural fit there, but nonetheless, there are tons of things you could do with this card. Chaos decks love getting lights and darks in the graves, love banishing, and Chaos Creator is no exception when it comes to these decks, and it's just going to help further fuel these decks' capabilities to build even bigger, more powerful boards. So for those reasons, that's why I gave Chaos Creator my number 3 spot. But coming in at number 2, I actually have 2 cards as a matter of fact, because both of these cards pretty much go hand in hand, and I didn't really want to pick one over the other, and it's my list, so I can make up the rules however I want. But for my number 2 slot, I have Immortal Phoenix Gearfried and Infernoble Knight Renault. So I'm going to read both of these cards off, starting with Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. It is a Fire Warrior level 9 with 3000 attack, 2200 defense. You can banish 1 equip spell from your field or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can equip 1 face-up monster on the field to this card, max 1, as an equip spell that gives this card 500 attack. When a monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can send 1 face-up equip card you control to the graveyard, negate that activation, and if you do, destroy it. You can only use each effect of Immortal Phoenix Gearfried once per turn. And Infernoble Knight Renault is a Fire Warrior level 1 effect monster with 500 attack and 200 defense. If you control a Fire Warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If summoned this way, treat this card as a tuner. You can only special summon Infernoble Knight Renault once per turn this way. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 of your Fire Warrior monsters or 1 of your equipped spells that is banished or in your graveyard, except Infernoble Knight Renault, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of Infernoble Knight and Renault once per turn. So both of these cards are key pieces of the Infernoble Knight strategy, which we're going to be getting in Rise of the Duelist. I already mentioned that with our number 4 pick, and these cards are no exception. When it comes to Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, this is one of the finishing pieces of the combo that allows you to have another monster effect negation on board, but the fact that you're able to get this onto the field just by banishing an equip spell, like that's one of the easiest summoning conditions I've ever seen on a card that's 3000 attack, huge stats, and also has built-in effect negation on top of that. Plus, you're playing it in a Noble Knight deck, which means there's going to be plenty of equipped spells to go around, and it's going to be equipped with something so that you can ensure that that monster effect negation is online. And then Renault is also very powerful in its own right because it's a free summon. It can become a tuner, which is important because there are a lot of Infernoble Knight synchro monsters that you're going to want to synchro into. It can also help you with any sort of Halki-Fibrax plays if you want to go down down that line, but also when it's on the field, it's basically a +1. You get to get any of your fire warriors or your equip spells and get them back to your hand if you've already used them. Yeah, that requires minimal setup, but like, what more could you really ask for? This is the embodiment of a powerful Yu-Gi-Oh card. It's got an incredible summoning condition, lots of flexibility, and also generates you card advantage in addition to that. Any deck would love to have a card that's designed like this, and there's a reason why Infernoble Knight is one of the strongest decks in Japan, and not only Infernoble Knight Renault, but God Phoenix Gearfried are both the reason for that. And so for those reasons, I couldn't really pick one over the other, and that's why I gave both of these cards my number 2 slot. But that's gonna bring us to my number 1 card of Toon Chaos, and if you haven't already figured it out, I'm going with Chaos Space. This card is absolutely absurd, and if you don't know what it does, I'm gonna go ahead and read it off to you. So it's a normal spell card which reads, send 1 light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard. Add 1 light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set from your deck to your hand with a level from 4 to 8 and with a different attribute than that monster. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished light or dark monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set. Place that monster on the bottom of the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effects of Chaos Space once per turn. So talk about incredible, right? And if you haven't already pieced it together, let me lay it out for you. So this card allows you to search a light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. Well, 2 of the most popular monsters that meet that criteria that have met their way onto the Forbidden and Limited list at 1 apiece are the baby Chaos Dragons, Wyver Burster and Collapse Serpent. And in addition to that, now that you have ways to search these, if you're playing a deck like Dragon Link, Chaos Space has effectively turned into a 1.5 to 2 card combo. I say 1.5 because it requires any discard that is either a light or a dark, but if you're playing Dragon Link, which is predominantly a light and dark focused deck, it's very easy for you to meet those requirements so you can activate Chaos Space. Being able to assemble absurdly powerful boards just as a result of Chaos Space's activation makes this probably the most devastating card in the entire set. This card, when you start to look at all the different cards that can be searched off of it that can't be normal summoned or set, you realize how many options you really have. This card searches Chaos Dragon Levianeer. This card searches the prize card Chaos Emperor Dragon. Like, the amount of cards that this card can search really has no limits when it comes to how high the ceiling is in terms of its power level. And even though it may be worded a little bit oddly where you have to discard a monster of the opposite attribute, so for instance, if you want to get a dark monster, you have to discard a light and vice versa. Even though it's a little bit specific, I think that it's completely outweighed by how powerful this card truly is, and this card could single-handedly put Dragon Link as a solid contender back into the format, because with more consistency, more accessibility to your power cards, it is going to be an absolute blast to see what people come up with. This is going to be a card that Chaos players are going to look to for years to come, and with also all the new cards that we have in this set, like Chaos Creator, like Chaos Valkria, all of those also meet the requirements for this as well, and maybe they don't have as much power as some of the other cards that can be searched off of it. That doesn't mean it isn't still a very solid card. So for all those aforementioned reasons, I had to put this card as my number 1 slot, and I think a lot of people would also agree. But guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about which cards you're looking forward to picking up in Toon Chaos. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon and becoming a YouTube channel member. Just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.